Welcome to Rewild Your Business. I'm your host, Jill Mokes. Thank you so much for joining me again this week. I don't know if you've been following along with our little mini-series, The Natural Order of Things, which is based on my book, which you can download from the show notes. It's free. It's my gift to you. But if you haven't, I would highly recommend going back, binging the previous episode. So we've covered 4 of the 7 layers so far in terms of what I consider to be the natural order of things when it comes to growing a soul-led business. The first layer we covered was inner knowing, all about your vision, really understanding how to tune into your intuition, the work that you're called here to do, really getting clear on all that foundational stuff. And then we moved on into truest expression. So this is all about your brand story, your values, what matters to you. And because those things matter to you, how that means that you show up in your business, why that makes you so compelling for the people that you want to work with. And then in episode 213, we covered soul work. So this is your offers. So because you have the vision you have, and because you understand your identity and who you are and what you've come to do, and because you've used that to build a brand that is so authentic and really represents the truth of who you are, and because you've got that brand foundation that represents the truth of who you are, then you can move on to creating this soul work, the offers that are the things that only you could create for the clients that you want to work with. And then last week, we moved into the first kind of client-facing piece of the puzzle, if you like. And we started thinking about your worldview. And this is really the piece that comes before this week's topic, which is marketing, speaking up. And the reason for that is that I don't want anyone to touch marketing until they understand what they have to say, until they understand what their opinions, their convictions, the things that make them different are. And the surprising thing for me still, after years of doing this work and years of working with people building fantastic businesses, is how many come to me having jumped from having an idea of what they want their business to be straight to trying to market it. And they've almost missed layers 1 to 4. And they jump straight in at layer number 5 of 7. And then wonder why their marketing isn't working. The way I teach this, by covering off those previous 4 layers, I'm setting you up perfectly to make your marketing so much easier, so much more natural for you. So that's what we're talking about in this episode. Speaking up, the marketing piece. Let's dive in. Welcome to Rewild Your Business, the podcast for women doing the work their soul intended. I'm Jill Mokes. I'm an international business coach, and I'm a guide for women doing the work that matters. Rewilding your business means cutting away what doesn't belong to allow what does to thrive, finding simplicity in your work. And it's about bringing the whole of who you are to the table, whether you're building something new or finding your way back to what really matters to you. I'm so glad you're here. So I want to start off by just calling out something that I think we all need to be aware of. And that is that most marketing advice is not written for businesses like the ones that we are building. It's written more for the businesses who are trying to just reach the maximum number of people in the minimum amount of time, people that are just optimizing for volume, for virality, the algorithm. Often these will be businesses where like the product, the offer is pretty interchangeable. And the goal is just really simple. It's just to be seen by more people than their competition, right? That's not us. That is not the business that we're building. We're building soul-led businesses where we are doing the work to so much to us. And that kind of business, that is built on relationships. It's built on something so much deeper than what the generic marketing advice out there tends to deliver to you. Our businesses are built on trust. They're built on, sorry, Luke. let me do that again. They're built on trust. And so the marketing advice out there that has been designed for those kind of volume driven, algorithm chasing businesses, that doesn't really serve us. And I think this is why so many soul-led entrepreneurs, people who are doing the work that really matters to them and don't really want to compromise on that, that is why so many of them are feeling pretty much exhausted, but also invisible at the same time, which seems very, very unfair because what's happening is they're working really hard to market their business, doing all the things that the marketing gurus are telling them. They're following all the advice, but it's not working. And it's not working because they're doing the things that were designed for a different kind of business, a different kind of business owner, right? So this episode is really about doing the right things in the right order. This whole mini series is about doing the right work in the right order, because everything gets easier once you accept that there is a natural order to these things. So speaking up, which is what I call the marketing layer, and learning how to speak up in a way that is true for you, in the places that make the most sense for your people, the people you want to attract, the people you would love to work with. Speaking up to those people with really radical authenticity, all of the things we unearth in layers 1 and 2, those things are the only sustainable foundation for marketing that will really work for you. There's no shortcut to it. So this layer 5, speaking up, is only going to work if all of the layers before it are solid. Remember that you've got the worksheets, you've got the book. You can go back and audit those previous layers. And only when those are solid is there any point in you really working on a sustainable marketing strategy. Because you need your inner knowing, you need your truth, your true expression, your brand, you need your offers, you need your thought leadership, you need all of those things in place to be able to show up in the world in a really consistent and purposeful way, in a way that means something to people, that doesn't have them just seeing you as another piece of you apart from anyone else. So what really is marketing? In the context of this framework of the natural order of things, I would say that marketing isn't just a set of tactics, although, there are some tactics, absolutely, when it comes to marketing. But those tactics, like, your posting schedule or your content strategy or funnels, all of those things, they might be part of how it's expressed, but they are not what it is. Marketing for a soul-led entrepreneur, a soul-led business owner, is really finding the right strategy for you and then showing up within that strategy with that radical authenticity over and over again for the people that you are here to serve. It isn't about just doing what seems to be working for someone else in your space. It isn't about optimizing for an algorithm or really chasing reach all the time, all of those kind of metrics. What it is about coming back time and time again to the who. Who are you here to serve? So when we think about content marketing, what will your people find captivating? How do they want to form relationships? What does connection look like for them? What matters to them? What are their values? You've done work on what your values are. Do you know what your ideal client's values are? Because they need to be aligned with your own, not necessarily identical, but certainly aligned with yours. And what do they find meaningful? But also on the flip side, what would they hate? What would feel really performative or hollow to them, or like a waste of their time? You've got to build your marketing strategy from a place of understanding your ideal clients inside out. So that is the first piece. Before we even think about what the strategy might be, it's about how well do I know and understand my ideal clients. And if you don't feel like you know the answers to those questions, then it's time for you to start talking to more people who represent your ideal clients. Not in a pitching them kind of way, but literally just, can you spare me 20 minutes of your time? I'd love to ask you a couple of questions. That kind of way. And when you start deciding how you're going to show up, whether it's relationship building, content marketing, whichever it is, when you decide how and where you're going to show up, and you do it from a place of knowing the answers to those questions, then it stops being about you performing for your audience, and it starts being about you actually starting to serve the people you care most about, the people that you would love to work with at some point. And there's a real nuanced difference between performing for an audience, and I think this is where those vanity metrics trip us up, because that's where trends and going viral and all of those things can feel so tempting. But if you think about the disparity between optimizing, get in front of as many people as possible, or optimizing to create content that is as meaningful as possible just for the people that you really want to work with, those are poles apart, right? So that shift from performance to service, to serving your ideal clients, that is what will make your marketing feel sustainable. So if you are someone that feels like they're trying to be everywhere, trying to repurpose like a demon, because everyone says that, oh, it's easy, just create one piece of content a week and then repurpose it everywhere. Yeah, repurpose takes time and effort. And, so I just want you to know that you don't have to be doing all of the things. I would highly recommend that you choose one platform to have as your primary content platform. So for me, it's this podcast is my platform. It's my visibility platform. And in marketing, there are 4 phases. The first one is visibility. This is my visibility platform. This is how the majority of people come into my world in the first instance. The podcast is hosted on Substack, so there's also some Substack going on. There's a bit of LinkedIn every now and then if I feel in the mood for it. Maybe even a little bit of Instagram as well when I feel in the mood for it. But honestly, this original content platform, my long form piece of content every week, is doing the majority of the work in my business and has been for 4 years. So I really want to make that very clear. This is just the visibility part though. People don't always, in fact, no, let's be honest, Jill. People don't often listen to an episode of this podcast and then phone me and say, Jill, how can I pay you because I want to be your client right now? It doesn't work like that. So funnels have a purpose, because the next thing after visibility is lead generation. So we need to have a way to say to people, if you like what you're hearing from me or what you're reading from me, here's a way you can raise your hand and tell me. And here's a way you can get deeper into my world. So this is where things like freebie opt-ins come in. It might be a quiz, a challenge. Now, the only way to know what the right kind of funnel is for you is yet again looping back to who your ideal client is. Are they people who love completing quizzes and actually do them because they are genuinely intrigued in the answer, and are likely to be someone who are going to want to, get that well-written email sequence after they've completed the quiz? Or are they someone who just wants to download a quick cheat sheet and read something? Or are they someone who actually they want a full-on mini course? They really are going to show up every day long for that, or a challenge, or, I can't tell you the answer to that. No one else can tell you the answer, because you are the person that should be understanding and knowing this about your ideal client. So there's options, but you're the one that needs to make the decision about what's right for your audience, your ideal clients. I can absolutely help you decide. I can ask you the right questions, but you need to have that knowledge. Why do we generate leads? By offering something in return for someone's email address, because email marketing is still a really effective way for businesses like ours to, over time, it's long form marketing. This is long tail marketing rather, This isn't short tail marketing like relationship marketing is. That's absolutely short tail. We can speak to someone today and by tonight they could be a client. But content marketing is long tail marketing. So I might publish this podcast episode. There will be links in the show notes. When someone clicks a link in the show notes, they might download a freebie. In return, they've given me their email address. They're now on my email list. I always think of my email subscribers as my inner circle. They're people who've raised their hand and said, Jill, I like what you've got to say on stuff. Let me be in your world and keep feeding me some of this. And that takes us into that next phase of the 4 phases of marketing, which is nurturing. So once you have a lead, and a lead is just having someone's email address for me. Now you might say, well, for me, Jill, it's having a DM conversation with someone. Okay, perfect. That can be what you define as a lead. I define it as an email address because I find that is what converts the best in terms of my marketing. So once I have someone's email address and they're on my email list, then we're in the next phase, which is the nurture phase. Quite often people will be on my email list for 6, 8, 12 months before they actually become a paying client or buy anything from me. A lower ticket offer, a high ticket coaching program, whatever. So that's the nurture phase where you're consistently delivering value to those people on your list. They're feeling like they're getting to know you. They're still listening to the podcast. Now they're getting the email every week. They're really feeling like they're in your world and they're learning from. You're not constantly asking them to become a client, but when the time is right, then you move into the 4th phase, which is the sale. It's making an honest invitation. It's getting on a discovery call with someone and giving them a taste of how it feels to work with you, and then asking them if they would like to know what working with you could look like. How simple is that? And when you have nailed a strategy that allows you to do those 4 phases, that allows you to get those 4 things working consistently, you're getting in front of enough people with your original content, you're making enough calls to action for people to raise their hand and opt into something. So then you've got the lead. You're doing enough nurturing with your email list consistently every week so that every now and then when the time feels right, you're making an invitation to those people to work with you. That is marketing. That is speaking up and having it resonate. That is marketing working in a way that is sustainable, that doesn't feel icky, and it's something that you can commit to because you'll have designed it purely with your ideal clients in mind. I often say to people, you know what, in terms of what strategy you should use, so in other words, okay, Jill, but what about social media? Where does that come in? What about guest podcasting? What about PR? What about all the other things that can come into the mix with a marketing strategy? And I always say to people, you know what, marketing always works. If you have these 4 phases, then it doesn't really matter how you're amplifying, but you have to have the 4 phases right to lead up to making a sale. So if social media is your thing, then by all means amplify that original visibility content on social media. Perfect, brilliant. If guest podcasting is your thing, do that. Do it consistently. Do it enthusiastically. But you have to find a way to put together a strategy that you can sustain, will allow you to speak your truth, to talk about your worldview in your voice, talk about the things that matter to you and to your ideal clients consistently. One thing that I often throw in when someone says to me, but Jill, I don't know what channel to be on. I don't know whether to have a podcast or a YouTube channel or a blog, and I don't know then what strategy to use to get that in front of more people. Should I be on LinkedIn? Should I be on Instagram? And honestly, there is no right or wrong answer to any of those things. So this is going to have to be something that comes from inside you. You need to think back to layer 1 when we talked about tuning into your intuition. That will be your best compass for telling you what feels right. The reason that people spread themselves way too thin across way too many platforms is because they haven't really done that work of feeling into the right place to be showing up. And I think the other thing to mention is that, if you don't make your decision from your gut, from where feels right for you to be, and if you end up sort of choosing the platform that's trending at the moment, or, you see someone else doing really well on another platform, so you're going to have a go at that one, you end up just trying to replicate someone else's strategy using their voice that they've carefully curated to appeal to their ideal clients. And, I think you really run the risk of, yet again, that white noise phrase comes to my mind. It's the only way is to find the place where you can speak your truth, that worldview, where you can be confident and courageous enough to really put content out that is compelling, that allows the people who you are really trying to get in front of to see you. And once you have that kind of intuitive answer to where you should be showing up to market your business, to tell people about what you do, when you get that intuitive answer, that is going to be an answer that's true for you. It's really going to be the answer that you can actually build on and sustain. And then once you have that, then the practical questions become so much simpler, because you're not going to be trying to be everywhere. You're not going to be trying to master every single platform. You're going to be showing up really fully and authentically in just the places that make sense for you and your people. Then it becomes manageable and sustainable. So when this layer 5, speaking up, marketing, and let's face it, marketing is a massive subject. I can only really touch on it a bit here. But when this is genuinely solid, when you've got those 4 phases nailed for your content marketing, visibility, lead generation, nurture, and sales, when you've got those 4 phases sorted, you know exactly where you're showing up, you know how you're ticking the box for each of those phases, and you're pairing it with the, I would say, more important part of relationship marketing, so you are consistently having conversations with people and making offers, then I think the way this shows up for you, what it looks like for you when it's working solidly, is that you feel good doing it. Now, don't get me wrong, there's always going to be days when it feels like more effort than others. But overall, you feel like you're spending the right amount of time on the right things. You feel like your energy is going where it matters, rather than being, scattered across all these different platforms and you're trying to repurpose yourself into the ground. And of course, once you've got this layer working, then you become visible. The people you're here to serve can find you. They can follow you. They can come into your world. They're resonating with your worldview that you're putting out there consistently. And when this layer's working, you are generating leads. So not necessarily in huge volumes. We've got to stop this myth that you need thousands and thousands of people on your email list to be able to do anything. It isn't true. You need an engaged email list full of the right people. That is true. We want people raising their hand, becoming leads, because they feel like they already know you, because your visibility content has been doing its job. So for me, this podcast, when someone clicks a link in the show notes and opts in for something, it's because this part of my marketing has been doing its job properly, building that relationship over time. And when this layer is working, you are nurturing those leads. Genuine, ongoing connection, writing an email each week if you can. That is a really lovely, consistent way to stay in touch with the people who have, shown you. It's the best way, in my opinion, to really nurture connection with the people that have raised their hand. Sending that email each week, delivering value to them, written by you as well, not AI created generic content, just really written by you, so they get to feel your personality. that is what nurtures people on your list and moves them along so that when the time is right for them, not you, when the time is right for them, when they've been in your world for the right amount of time for them to know that the time is right for them, when they've seen enough and heard enough of your truth spoken with confidence, then you get to invite them into a conversation or onto a sales page, whatever your strategy is, you get to invite them into that experience, to invite them to become a client. And when you do it at the right time, that invitation lands properly. It doesn't land like a pitch. It lands as like the natural next step in a relationship that's already been building. So this is why I sometimes hate the word funnel, because funnel is, like I said at the beginning, it's for businesses that don't look like ours. It's for numbers-based businesses. And ours are not numbers-based. They are person-based. We are not looking for a content machine or a funnel. We're looking for a genuine, sustained, authentic presence that builds real relationships with real people over real time. I've talked quite a lot in this episode about consistency, and I think it's worth just clarifying something here actually, because I think consistency in marketing is often misunderstood. People will think that it's about volume. And for me, consistency is never about posting every day or showing up on every platform or producing content at any kind of pace that leaves you feeling really depleted. That is not sustainable. And sustainability of your marketing is the absolute whole point of it. So real consistency in the context of marketing really is about showing up all the time with the same voice, the same values, the same worldview, and doing it regularly enough that people know what to expect from you and trust that you're not just going to disappear. So it's about being reliably and recognizably you, but not necessarily beating yourself up if your email goes out on a Wednesday instead of a Tuesday one week. I'd hate it when I see people that almost give up because they've broken a streak of being consistent. That's not what it's about. Make the consistency be about the way you show up, not when. And I think the question, it's never about, am I posting enough? It's always about, am I showing up consistently enough in the right places as my full self for the people that I want to attract to trust me? That's the right question. So as always, this layer, I've created the workbook for you, little worksheet. So if you go to jillmokes.com/215, you can download the worksheet. Or you can also get the prompts in the book, The Natural Order of Things. And again, I'll pop the link to that in the show notes as well. So if you haven't already downloaded the book, feel free to do that. The difference I would say is that if you download the book, you get the prompts in the book. But if you download the worksheet, it's an editable PDF. So you can actually type in the worksheet and keep them all that way. So completely up to you, or do both. Get both. I just want to finish this layer. Marketing is a big beast, isn't it? There is so much to be said about it. And I do think that there's a reason that when I'm coaching clients, we spend a lot of time on marketing because it's incredibly important. Once those other 4 layers that come before it are in place, then marketing is super important in terms of generating revenue. So there's a reason we spend a lot of time on it. So it's very hard to take marketing and put it into this one episode. But hopefully this has given you a feel for what you need to be focusing in on and the questions you need to be asking yourself. So it's not about being everywhere. It's not about cracking the algorithm. It's not about going viral. It's not about building a following of hundreds of thousands. It's about finding your people, the people that you want to serve. And then it's about showing up for those people in the places where they are, in the voice that is genuinely yours, saying your true thing, giving your worldview, giving your opinions, showing them that you are a recognized authority in your thing, and doing that consistently over time until the people who need you the most can find you, recognize you, and trust you enough to take that next step. It's not complicated. It's 4 phases. You need to just be very clear on the way you are implementing those 4 phases. How am I going to be visible? How am I going to generate leads? How am I going to nurture those leads? And how am I going to sell to those leads? 4 phases. But doing marketing really well does ask you to be quite courageous, because it asks you to back yourself, and it asks you to make decisions and then go with those decisions and commit to them for long enough for the marketing to work. Most people whose businesses fail because they haven't given their marketing enough time to work. Bold statement, but I believe that is so true. Most people who are struggling to grow their business are simply not having the conviction to go all in on the strategy they choose and then give it long enough to work. Remember, this podcast, I've been doing this for 4 years. It takes time. First year, really didn't see virtually any business from the podcast whatsoever. First year. So when people try a new strategy and after 3 weeks say, no, I don't think that works, I'm like, I'm going to be honest, we're going to have to go for a bit longer. Okay, so next week, we're going to move on to layer 6, and that is honest invitation. So this is about sales, because once you are visible, once the right women or the right people are raising their hand and they want to hear more from you and you've got the opportunity to nurture them, then the question becomes, are you inviting them clearly and honestly with full confidence into what you're offering? Are you consistently putting out there? Are you consistently speaking to people and making offers? If you're not, there's where we've got our issue in this layer. And then when you are speaking to them, how are you speaking to them? What does the conversation feel like? Does it feel like they're being sold at? Or does it feel like they're just being treated to a taste of how it feels to work with you? Big difference there. So that's what we're going to dive into next week. Okay, so don't forget, I'm going to pop the links into the show notes. Now, with marketing, this is a chunky piece of work. I'm not going to lie about that. And if you would like some support around really any of the layers, but particularly listening to this layer can often be the overwhelming one for people. This can be a bit like, oh, I was all right up until now, but now I don't know. I don't know where I should be showing up. I don't know what I should be doing. Then I have a very, very, very special invitation for you today. And that is to come and join me in my new membership, which is called The Wild Way. I'm so excited. The doors are now open. I'll put the link in the show notes. You can absolutely join today. The cost is £22 a month, so it's very accessible. That's for founding members. If you join while the founding member rate is open, that will be locked in for as long as you stay within the membership. And the reason I think this will be a really great move for you, if you want the support that I can give you to really make sure each of the layers of the natural order of things are solid in your business so that your business starts growing in a way that feels good, is that we are going to get together on Zoom twice a month. Once at the new moon, where we're going to set our intentions, and once at full moon, where we're going to release, reflect, let go of what's not working. And the reason I like to work with the lunar cycles is for me that it is this kind of natural, built-in, rewilded way of building a rhythm of accountability into your business. It feels really good, trust me. If you haven't ever done this, if you haven't spent time at new moon, getting really clear on what you want to be focusing on that lunar cycle, and then again at full moon, releasing, letting go, reflecting on what's working. It's a game changer. And we're going to be doing that together in this membership. Every new moon, every full moon, we will get together on Zoom and we'll spend some time doing some of that planning work, doing some of that releasing work, but also you get a bit of time as well for hot seat coaching. So you get to raise your hand and ask the questions. Tell me where you're blocked. You also get a community hub where you get to spend time in there asking questions and sharing with people who are doing the same kind of meaningful work that you're doing. The reason I've created this membership now is, well, one, the timing feels perfect for me to create this kind of membership, but also because this is the community that I want to belong to. I do this anyway. I work like this, in this rhythm anyway. And I want more women to come and work with me in this way. So I really hope you'll take a look. Go to jillmoakes.com/wildway. And I'll see you on our live new moon call, which is today. So if you're listening to this in the morning, then brilliant. You can come and join us. If you join today, you'll join us and we can meet up at 5 p.m. UK time, which is 12 p.m. Eastern time in the US. And you can join us for that very first call. We will be setting intentions this evening on the call. You also get a membership hub, a portal where you can log in, and every month I'm going to be uploading a class, a recorded class, a guided meditation, a workbook, and for June the topic is trust the timing. And I thought it was quite a nice poetic first class for me to share, because that is exactly what I have done in bringing this membership into the world right now. I'm trusting the timing for myself. So that's something else that you get if you become a member. If you're listening to this after the 15th of June, then obviously whenever you join, you just come and join us on the next moon circle, whichever it is, a full moon or a new moon, whichever. You come and join us live on the next one. Okay, I hope this episode has been helpful, and I hope to see you inside the Wild Way. Bye for now.